Attempted murder should carry the same sentence as murder. I just read an article where someone in France was killed in CS:GO and spent the next 6 months hunting down his in-game killer, stabbing him in the chest. Luckily, the victim didn't die. But the killer was only sentenced to 2 years and anger management. Consider two scenarios. Scenario A, attacker hunts victim for 6 months, stabs him in the chest, pierces his heart, and walks away leaving him for dead. Victim dies. Attacker sentenced to 20 years. Scenario B, attacker hunts victim for 6 months, stabs him in the chest, misses his heart by 1, and walks away leaving him for dead. Victim survives. Attacker sentenced to 2 years. Between these two scenarios, is there a significant difference in the morality, criminality, or mentality of the attack in either scenario? Is there a significant difference in the criminal's mental wellness and ability to remain a member of society who doesn't pose a danger to others? Is there a significant difference in the time it would take to rehabilitate the attacker? I don't see a difference in the nature of these two crimes, other than the victim being extremely lucky in one. If incarceration is meant to punish people who broke the law and social code, then the person broke that to the same degree in either scenario, intending to kill a fellow member of society and rob them of their only chance at life. If incarceration is meant to keep society safe from those who prey on others, then the attacker is just as much a danger to society in either scenario. If incarceration is meant to rehabilitate, then the mentality of the criminal is no different in either scenario. It makes no sense to sentence any differently. Edit: I'm not merely talking about assault with a weapon. Example: hitting someone in the knee with a bat. While that should carry its own punishment, merely using a deadly weapon does not indicate deadly force with intent to kill. I am referring to scenarios that would otherwise be murder 1, maybe 2, if the victim died. Edit 2: I disagree with the notion that this would incentivize finishing the job in cases where one might otherwise get away with a lesser attempted murder charge. Most criminals either do not plan on getting caught or do not plan on being free, surrender or suicide. People don't go, I wanna almost kill you a little bit, but don't wanna get charged with murder, so I'm just going to stab you mere inches from your heart. Edit 3: A lawyer pointed out that retribution is another purpose of sentencing, that if a loved one dies, we want to see a more severe punishment than if they are merely injured. This is a point worth acknowledging. Edited for clarity. Agreed. Just because you suck at committing murder doesn't mean you didn't try to murder someone. I guess the additional sentence for actually pulling it off is more for emotional trauma for the victim's family. The idea is to avoid a major perverse incentive. Every part of our justice system that works is built on incentives for compliance. If attempted murder is charged the same as murder, then there's no downside to continuing the attempt until it succeeds. The way it currently works, if you haven't killed anyone yet, there's still a reason to stand down and accept the lesser charge. Attempted murder? Now honestly, what is that? Do they give a Nobel Prize for attempted chemistry? Do they? That's probably one of the funniest things I've heard. And this is for saying you fucked my mom. Lawyer here: there are two main theories of punishment. One is utilitarianism and the other is retributism. The former is concerned with things like getting dangerous people off the streets, sending a message to the community to discourage similar behavior, and changing criminals into productive members of society. The latter is concerned with society's need for some type of revenge and being able to believe that evil deeds will be punished. When we look at a strictly utilitarian perspective, it would make sense to charge an attempt and a completed crime the same way. Someone that has every intention of killing someone but fails due to circumstances outside of their control could be just as dangerous as someone who is able to successfully kill another human being. However, from a retributive perspective, there is far less of a need to seek vengeance. If someone tries to kill my father unsuccessfully, I would not feel the need to get back at them in the same way as I would had the attempted murderer been successful. Beyond this, there are evidentiary concerns. How do we know what was in the person's heart? Maybe the defendant only failed in the attempt because they weren't serious enough to begin with. Having a much shorter sentence for an attempted crime compared to a completed crime is a way to deal with these problems. I see where you're coming from and I mostly agree with you. That dude definitely should have gotten a longer sentence, and maybe a long trip to a mental hospital. But I think, and I haven't researched this, there are a ton of attempted murders that are just irrational heat of the moment. In a happy state, they wouldn't do it. They suddenly find out, I don't know, they were cheated on, get in a heated argument, and black out in anger. Next thing they know, their partner is almost dying. As an example. That, sure, maybe more than 2 years and some extreme therapy. But long premeditated murder is not irrational anger. 6 months is way longer than the healthy mind's grieving process. There just needs to be more careful consideration of all the factors and then the sentence should be dealt. But even so, a lot of unfair sentences are held back by unfair laws and statutes. Person attempts murder, person fails to be murdered, no law defining motive or actions only ruling is attempted murder, poor definition of sentence laws, minimum sentence enacted. From what I can tell, France has a pretty poor rep when it comes to sentencing people already. Random thought, courts should use an alternative phrase for that, attempted assassination. Since it was premeditated. I fully agree. I know someone who attempted to rape a mentally disabled girl, so he only got 3 years. Whether it actually happened or not, he wanted to do it and would have if he hadn't been caught. Agreed. Just because the person was lucky enough to not die shouldn't change the sentence. It's France, we have a shitty justice system. Lots of murderers are not sentenced at all, so don't expect people who attempted to murder someone to be sentenced to anything. But overall I agree with you, this would incentivize killers being competent and finishing the job. In your case, if the criminal knew that he'd punished for murder regardless, he might have brought a gun instead of a knife and made sure the victim was dead. Remember, the purpose of the justice system is not just punishment, but also prevention and rehabilitation, but that is not relevant to our case now. Thinking that murder is worse than attempted murder is really stupid to me. Jail is meant to teach bad people not to do it again, doesn't matter whether it does or not, it's not a revenge. If they try to kill someone, they should be taken out of the society to prevent them from doing it again. Giving them more years if the victim dies makes it seem like it's only a revenge. True. After all, it is the thought that counts. I agree with this post on so many levels. Damn, CS really pissed someone off, lol. I think they should get an even harsher sentence. Not only did you try to kill someone, you were shit at it too. French guy must have been CS going crazy. Sorry. They should be sentenced permanently, without possibility for parole. In my opinion. Same for murderers. If they screwed up the first time, you think they aren't gonna try again? Really? Why should we take that risk they brought upon us? Why should we risk the victim's life just so the perpetrator can get a taste of freedom? It's absolutely not worth it. Sure, some can be rehabilitated, plenty even. But is it truly worth risking the innocent life of anyone just because a murderer or would-be murderer might not kill someone or try to kill someone again? Screw that rehabilitation rubbish. If they're so willing to take the life of another, why should they deserve a second chance at their own? Carrot, worth noting, where I am we have multiple types of violent crimes and even murders, including accidental ones which wouldn't be covered by the above. I think for attempted first-degree murder absolutely.